Out on the road, tales never end, through misty woods and hills they wend.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Tales of Adventure. I'm definitely not over here fiddling with dice instead of paying attention. It's one of those days. This week we get to welcome a really cool friend of mine, James from Tabletop Misfits, and we are going to head out to kind of an interesting adventure this evening. So, yes, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well, actually. I've been building furniture all day, so this will be a nice break from my day. So ready
Awesome.
to roll some dice.
Yes, hopefully we'll get to roll lots of dice tonight. Tell us a little bit about your character that's going to join us this evening.
So Zafon Silverleaf is kind of a pride and joy of mine. Originally became just kind of a mob boss of whatnot of the underworld and many of my adventures. Most of my players have met him, and he is the one that gets to play around in all the dark and unkept places of the world. But he seems to always have his hand in business. So, and normally does he never step out of his own to go on an adventure. So him coming out of his area of domain is kind of a curiosity in itself. But yeah, looking forward to this.
Awesome. All right. And with that, let's get started.
No.
So, we are going to be in the city of Waterdeep this evening. And Waterdeep, also called the City of Splendors, is a marvelous cosmopolitan city and a commercial hub for financial interests along the Sword Coast. A powerful and influential member state of the Lord's Alliance, crime here is random and dispersed, with no crime lord to really take command. At least, this is what the lords assume. For those who are familiar with the winding passageways of this port city, former members of the now dismantled Thieves' Guild are never far away. Here, in these back alleys, is an easily overlooked shop which caters to patrons seeking rare or mystical artifacts. Their provenance may be questionable, but each item is carefully curated by their power and ability. What does the shop look like?
So Zafon's shop is actually curated by an older elven woman. It's kept pristine. One of his requirements is that everything is kept in order and everything is documented. Each of the items has a shelf, a place. It'll have some sort of velvet or satin backdrop to every item. Each item is positioned properly and taken care of, cleaned daily. And he doesn't keep a ton in here, so this is he'll maybe be holding in the actual curator's shop about 16 to 20 items at max per day, and he rotates these out across different areas of the Sword Coast that he has other shops similar to.
It sounds like a very interesting place to go visit. Well, tonight someone is going to come looking for Zafon's help. And as she walks into the shop, they may notice that she's dressed a bit differently than those found along the Sword Coast. And she looks around curiously for Zafon in hopes of finding him specifically.
So the best way to do that would be to reach out to the curator of the shop, and for those that would know of Zafon, there are certain trigger words that could be used during a conversation to summon him, and we'll say, due to her background or whatnot, you're able to figure those out. And the curator would make 3 knocks on the desk underneath it, and a small door would open up behind the desk of the curator shop, leading down a long.
Okay. And at those knocks, she will start to head down the stairs in search of Zafon Silverleaf. And what does she find down at those base of the stairs in his hidden sanctuary?
In his hidden sanctuary, you'd find rooms of assortments of goods and goods that are being placed, shuffled around by goons of his handymen. Um, Knowing the direction they're coming from, though, the handyman won't even acknowledge the person. If you continue to walk down the hallway and past all of the doors, there's a large wooden door at the end, a set of crossed scimitars placed on the edge on the and painted on the door. And inside, as you open the door, you would see a very quaint um, circular room, but a long table or a small table, uh, a desk and chair, a set of couches, place for it was probably sitting on a couch with a book in hand, and very. I wasn't expecting company. And he looks up over a book, and you can see those blindingly yellow eyes of his as he peers over the book. He says,
Okay. And in response to his greeting, she dives right into why she is there, being rather an abrupt personage herself. And so, she will rush over to him and beg his help in retrieving a rather rare artifact. She does mention that it's powerful, and she hopes that this is something that could potentially bring him some prestige in this area.
"And what artifact are we looking for exactly?"
She will say, "It is something that has been lost to my people for centuries. I heard rumors that it might be here, near Waterdeep, in a very hidden temple, deep beneath the harbor itself. The exact properties of this magic item are unknown, but they would be unique, and in order to help me recover the ancient temple and other items there, I would be willing to offer it to you in trade."
Normally, I would have a colleague of mine or pay a few adventurers to venture out to do this, but it seems you've hunted me down directly, so I'll step out of my domain for the day and see what I can discover.
She nods her thanks and says, "Excellent. You have unique skills that may aid us as we head deep below the seas. It is rather a difficult place to reach, but I would still prefer to head out at nightfall. That way, no one but us can discover the temple's location."
All right. And what do we need in order to traverse this temple? Do we have any um, schematics or anything I need to be worried about and need to bring extra gear for, or is this going to be a pretty simple walk in, walk out situation?
She will sadly say that no documentation of the temple exists, not but my memories. But she will remind you that it is deep beneath the ocean and at the bottom of the harbor floor. If you are not someone accustomed to breathing underwater, you might want to come prepared.
I'll speak to some constituents of mine and gather a potion or two of water breathing and head out once I'm geared up and proper.
She will give you a specific location to meet her at nightfall, and will then go out on preparations of her own before meeting you there.
All right. So while she does that, he'll make a few phone calls, or well, a few calls out and to people that he knows within the city. Pay for 2 full bottles of water breathing, and try to locate an apparatus of water breathing if possible. Um, those are somewhat harder to come by. So,
Yes. Luckily, you are able to
and then he'll
find
head
one.
that way at nightfall.
Perfect.
All right.
So night has fallen, and the vast port of Waterdeep earned its name due to the deep waters found within its harbor. Many mysteries do lie along the seafloor of the Sea of Swords, and recent rumors seem to confirm what this woman says is true. A lost temple is buried off the coast of Waterdeep. Such a find could reveal treasures of immeasurable value. Sailing towards the suggested location, you prepare to dive fathoms down to the ocean floor.
So he'll place a rounded, almost fishbowl-like looking object over his head, and there'll be sets of runes that engraze around the edges of the neck post. And as he does, you can see the engravings kind of light up as the runes glow, and he'll submerge himself in the water and follow.
Mm-hmm. Zafon may not see this since he dove first, but the woman will wrap a fur cloak around her before diving in as well. However, as he heads down to the sea floor, he sees not a human female, but a seal following him along behind. Does he react to her presence?
Seems we all have our tricks.
Yes, she definitely has a few. Reaching the seabed, you discover the coral-covered ruins of a long-lost civilization. Worn stones bear the marks of an unknown language beneath a drapery of kelp, coral, and lichen. Following an ancient byway, you observe a faint bioluminescent glow up ahead. The path reveals concentric circles of standing stones that give off a magical aura. Deep ocean currents weave between the pillars and produce a haunting call, which develops into a melancholy song as you approach the center of the stones. Here, in the eye of the stones, all is silent and still.
I look around, hearing the sounds. Can the sounds have any sort of voice to them, or is it just hums and like lulls?
It's more a melody, but it doesn't sound like a human voice.
Fair. Okay. Have you heard this before?
As you turn towards the seal, you notice that she seems a bit sad, almost as if she's remembering a memory from long ago or even her childhood. And she starts to weave a pattern through the stones, one she may have traveled before.
You'll follow very closely.
As you do so, you start to feel that aura of magic grow and becomes ever stronger, creating a thrum of its own. However, as you work your way closer to the center of the stones, you noticed tentacles reaching out to stop your progress. So far, they haven't moved to attack,
Oh.
but they're not exactly friendly either.
This is what you were saying is a reasoning to need somebody here. My skills with something like this are useful, but prefer to stay out of combat as much as possible.
She will nod to you, taking the lead, and prepares to try to sneak and trick the Kraken away from your location. Her dodging steel fins are able to lure it away for a while, but if you move any closer to the center of the stones, it may just turn its attention back to you.
And what am I seeing at the center of the stones?
It seems to be a hollow. Whether anything else is there, hidden by magic, you won't be able to discern until you get a bit closer.
Let's see here. I'm going to. Is there a stone? Are there stones around me or no?
Yes. There's circles of stones, each getting smaller and smaller and smaller until they reach that hollow in the center.
Okay. I'm going to try to find a small, smooth stone, and I'm going to throw it into the hollow and see if anything happens.
Okay. It seems for a moment as if the stone flashes away from sight, but then you notice it reappear on the opposite side of the circle.
Interesting. He's going to look around. Is there any differentiation from the other side of the circle to this side, or is it completely symmetrical between one side and the other?
It seems to be perfectly symmetrical.
Must find a way. Don't want to fight that creature. Do I have to? He's going to step a foot forward and watch very closely that creature to see if it continues to follow or if it starts to turn.
It is quite a ways away, and your companion has been able to trick it into leaving you far behind. However, as you start to inch closer, it starts to turn its gaze back towards you, almost as if it's aware of the footfalls moving throughout the concentric circles.
Interesting. Is there rocks, or am I just stepping into the water at this point?
You are completely submerged in water.
Okay, so this is at the bottom of the ocean. Just there's circles. There's circles on the ground, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like Stonehenge, but more of them.
Okay. Is there any depictions or writing on any of the stones?
Yes, there appear to be faintly glowing ancient runes. However, it's not in a language you've encountered before.
So he is going to, being a curator of ancient spells and artifacts, he's going to pull out a small set of binoculars, or not binoculars, but spectacles. He's going to place them on his face. He's going to remove. Well, first he'll have to remove the apparatus of water breathing, and then at that point he's going to drink the potion of water breathing, so that he can still breathe underwater. And he's going to place those spectacles over his eyes, and at that point he's going to, with an instance of the item itself, cast a comprehend language.
Okay. And as he does so, he instantly understands a long forgotten dialect known as Silcanen. It was once spoken by the Selkie people, native to Earth. What their temple is doing here in Waterdeep is a mystery, but that language is clearly inscribed on each of the stones.
Is it giving any sort of clarity on like what is being discussed, or no?
It seems to be a kind of ritual, a song meant to be sung or performed while traveling through the stones. And it also seems to have a faint aura of magic about it, as if the runes themselves are magical.
Are the tones or the words like tones of what the song is being sung within the area, or no?
Are you touching the stones?
He's going to place his hand on the one stone closest to him.
As you do so, it rings out a faint musical tone, as if the magic of the runes has somehow enchanted the stones themselves to be singers.
Okay. Did that change any sort of response from the creature, or no?
It appears to be lulled by that first hint of music. It still has its eye on you warily, but upon hearing that ancient music, it's starting to pacify and become docile.
I'm going to watch as I place one step closer towards the center of the circle, brushing my hand on another runed item as I get closer.
And as you continue brushing along the stones, you hear an entire melody become played by the stones themselves. And the farther you walk ahead, the calmer, quieter that Kraken becomes, until eventually it seems as if it's no more than a docile watchdog, and he allows you to cross all the way to the center of the stones.
Now standing here. All right, made it this far. What's next? He kind of looks around at the hollow just to see if there's anything that he's seeing around the edges or close to the entrance that would catch him off guard.
Here in the center, that residual melody is completely silent. It's almost as if you are truly in the eye of the storm, where everything acts around you, but does not affect you here. And that strong aura of magic has become very pounding in your ears. And around you, as you step, you start to see bioluminescent runes light up.
Similar language to the one that I saw within the circle?
Yes.
Okay, he's going to continue to step forward into the hollow.
As you do so, a strong thrum starts to build around you, almost as if an underwater storm is building. And as soon as you touch that center hollow, with a flash of light and a rush of water, you emerge from an ancient gate in a whole new world. All around you, schools of brightly colored fish weave between the remains of an ancient temple. Up ahead, the remains of a grand proscenium declare the location of a once spectacular temple to the sea gods. You notice that the water seems different from that of Waterdeep.
All right. Don't know what happened, but everything happens for a reason. Must be inside. He'll head in.
All right.
Starts to swim closer to the temple.
Yes. As you get closer, you start to see many of those same runes. These are not bioluminescent, and they're not necessarily magical, but they're carved deep enough to last several lifetimes, as if whatever culture that once swam or lived here wanted to make sure that their language lasted much longer than they would.
Now what? I'm gonna look. Has my guide showed up at all yet, or no?
Not yet.
All right. Guess I'll go in deeper. Hopefully everything will be all right.
Do you enter the temple itself?
It's what he's gonna do. Yep.
Okay. And as soon as you do, you notice that inside the temple sits a chest containing a smaller concave, like a miniature throne. Powerful magic emanates from the stone chest, and a familiar soft lullaby echoes about the room as you approach it.
I'll have to remember this. It seems to be something of use in the near future. Is it the same lullaby that he heard outside the temple or outside of the stones?
Yes, it's the same music that was heard when you started to touch the stones themselves.
Okay. He's going to brush his hand along this set of rocks as well, or within the temple as well.
Okay. And as you do so, a whole series of bioluminescent landscapes and documentation starts to light up. Branching out from your fingertips, it spreads across the entire temple, documenting a whole entire lost culture. And as you notice, it seems that lots of seals or figures transforming between the two are depicted in these illustrations.
Well, this will give me a good penny if I can get some of this back home. Let's just hope we can figure it out.
He discovers a lost civilization and immediately thinks of how to exploit it. I like that.
Is the epitome of this character. He's going to cautiously, but very aware of his surroundings, keep an eye out as he walks deeper into the temple, following writings to make sure that he's trying to find ways of, okay, these are words and these are telling stories, but is there anything telling stories of ancient artifacts or any sort of keys, locks, anything of that perspective that he would catch a glimpse of?
Roll for insight.
course. I start rolling and Chinook starts happening. Let's see what we got. So it would be a 13.
Okay. So as you're examining these various carvings and illustrations, you noticed one in particular that seems to depict a stone chest. Unlike the one currently sitting in the temple, however, this contains some sort of illuminate gemstone. And curiously, it seems like those same concentric runes depicting music are here surrounding the chest as well.
So I'm guessing there's a locking mechanism on this chest. Probably one of these songs. He's going to go up and examine the chest. Are the same depicted runes the same ones that he saw that he rubbed his hand on?
They're similar, and they seem to have the same sort of powerful magic, but this might be a different melody, for they're not exactly the same.
Okay. Does he hear, or not hear, does he see anything else in the writings that would give off a secondary melody that might be what he's looking for?
If examining the temple walls, you don't see anything specific there that would trigger a melody. However,
Okay.
you notice a note that seems to suggest that it's the chest itself that contains the locking mechanism.
So he's going to. Are there any rune or any glyphs or language on there that he would have understood based off of previous examination? Or are these all new ones that he's never seen?
They are all new, but because comprehend languages is still active, you would be able to
Correct.
understand them.
Okay. I think he's more looking at the fact of, do I have to hit these in the right way to play the melody that he knows? But if he
Okay.
doesn't see anything that's helpful to him, then that would not affect it.
Not on the wall, no.
Okay. Is there anything around him, or is it just this chest in this room?
Besides the chest and curious fishes, you are alone in the temple.
Strange. Normally things like this are guarded. Seems too easy. He's going to step back about 60 feet, grab a rock, and throw it at the chest. See if anything happens.
No, it does not.
Okay. Now picking this thing is going to be more difficult. He's going to go up to the chest, and he's going to try to say, or rather hum, the melody backwards.
Okay. The chest seems to recognize that that is in fact music and starts to glow softly. However, that might not be the correct song, as it does not reveal whatever's hidden inside it.
Is there anywhere else he can go, examine, or investigate, or is this just the only room in this temple that he can get access to?
This is the only room in the temple you can get access to. If you're willing to spend some time moving rubble, you might be able to move farther in.
This song take a while, so I'll have to see what I can come up with. He's going to. Is there anything that looks like the rebel would have like depicted or hid specific information about this city or this area?
Looking through some of the rubble, you're noticing iconography specific to certain deities, including a trident, a net, and various depictions of sea creatures.
Next. Don't know what that is. Must keep looking. Be useful if we had that seal with us.
Is Zafon well versed in history or religious knowledge?
No, neither.
Just
He's more
curious.
of a people person.
All right then.
No. What to do? Is there anything else around him? Any sort of items or I mean, really, if he could find any sort of connection to this chest. Otherwise, he's going to do the old archaic way of doing it and just try to open it.
As you're
And see what
looking
happens.
around, roll me investigation.
All right. 9.
Okay. You discover an ancient dagger. It appears to be worn and rusted from its time underwater, but you still sense a bit of magic about it. And as you're examining it, our seal friend does come over to the temple to you, having successfully made it through that underwater gate.
Oh, seems you found your way. All right, so we found this chest, and now I'm trying to figure out how to get in it. I tried playing music back and forward, but neither seemed to work. I found this dagger. Is there anything on the dagger, or no?
Similar runes and carvings, and they seem to
Okay.
be speaking about a deity as if this is his dagger.
I'm gonna tap it on the wall and see if it makes a hum or a melody of some sort.
Okay. You do hear the ring of metal against stone, but otherwise no music. In fact,
Okay.
you notice that ice seems to be emanating from the point you struck the wall.
Oh. That's new. I'll hold on to that. And he flips it in and puts it in his pack. Actually, he's going to walk over to the chest. He's going to place the edge of the blade against the locking mechanism and try to see if it will freeze over.
Okay. As you touch this dagger to the stone, it's as if the chest recognizes that this is whom it's meant to serve and immediately opens. And inside, you discover
Well, that was easier.
a foggy gray crystal, and it seems to be emanating with quite a bit of power all on its own.
Is this the item you were looking for?
The seal will nod to you and seems almost reverent when confronted with this foggy gray stone.
What is this to you?
You hear sort of a song in your head, and the seal will say that this is nature manifest, everything that represents our culture and our deities.
So I've got you the stone. Now what? What else do you need for this? What is your purpose of this stone in needing it?
You hear her answer that she hopes to recover it and bring it back to her people, where it rightfully belongs. But she's willing to offer a trade. If you let her take it, she will break off a small portion for you to use as your own.
Hmm. Piece of a stone of an ancient civilization lost in time. Oh, definitely catch a pretty penny. But would like to know more of this civilization you're looking at. Maybe there's more to this puzzle. Maybe there's more to this place. Why would this rock be here if it's for your people, though its reverence is based in this god or deity of some sort?
The seal seems almost sad, and when she looks at you, you hear her say that long ago this place was lost to us. We sacrificed it to chain that which should never have been created in the first place. Sometimes, when powers reach beyond what they ought to, certain sacrifices must be made to contain that chaotic power. And though the deity may now be chained, what's left is the ruins of a forgotten culture.
Now, part of me really does enjoy chaos, so I really don't see the problem with a chaotic god. However, if this is your people, I don't feel like meddling in that. It's not really my style.
She nods her thanks, but would still be willing to break off a portion of the stone if you are willing to accept it for gratitude for helping her get here.
Sure. I'll take it.
She breaks off a portion, and you immediately sense quite a bit of power coming even from this fragment. In your hands, it lights up with its own illusory light, and you can see so much clearly underwater than you could before. You also sense the power of transfiguration and enchantment within the stone, and get the sense that should you choose to hold on to it, your spellcasting abilities would be significantly magnified while the stone is in your possession.
Might have to hold on to this one for my personal stash. He'll place it in a pocket underneath one of his underneath his coat.
Excellent choice. The seal will warn you that you need to leave this place the way that you came, but she's willing to show you around if you're interested. It's just that surfacing here would result in you being on a different plane.
I'd prefer not to be here. Back in my home where it's nice and cozy. I can send my people to do my job. And getting out of these wet clothes would be perfect. We'll head back.
She will guide you back to the gates, indicating that she intends to stay here in her native home, but will help you make the crossing safely. On the other side, the kraken has vanished, back to whatever hidey hole it belongs to, and you're able to safely resurface not too far off the shores of Waterdeep.
As he resurfaces, he'll pull from his pouch one last time and just look at the stone. So, stone, you'll be mine. This dagger, however, will fetch a pretty good penny on the market. We'll hand that to the curator to get it marketed. And he'll start strolling back to town as if nothing has ever happened and cast thaumaturgy on himself, or prestidigitation on himself to dry himself off.
Perfect. It's a good thing to be dry. Over the next few days, you may spend some time examining the stone, and as you do, you'll discover its full properties. It's a rare artifact of a bygone age, and this gray, foggy gemstone continues to flicker with its own illusory light. When the bearer carries this gemstone into a dark or murky area, whether above ground or under the seas, the creature is able to see clearly for a distance of up to 30 feet, as though peering through a crystal clear pool of water. And the Kelpie's eye embraces the spirit of the ocean tides. While in possession of this stone, any spells cast have a chance of becoming magnified. Healing or damage spells that typically target one creature may target all individuals within the radius or even have their effects doubled. Illusion or conjuration spells may become extremely difficult to disbelieve or save against, resulting in disadvantage for all targets. Each time a spell is cast, you may find that your magic behaves a bit differently than expected.
I have to keep that in mind.
Would Zafon continue to examine the dagger as well?
And Zafon would probably hand that off to the curator to examine at this point. The dagger seems useful, but it seems like it would fetch more of a pretty penny on the market than it would for his personal stash.
Yes. The curator may advise you to charge quite a fine price. After all, God-forged weapons are quite rare, even here in Faerun.
Hopefully, we find a good person to buy this then, and fund quite a few projects that I've got in mind. And he'll, after handing it off to the curator, he'll head back downstairs and pull out a book and continue his readings while dealing with his operations as he sees fit.
All right. And that gemstone is his to keep. No one will ever come for it, except perhaps a few rivals now and again. And perhaps it may even help grow his enterprises here in Waterdeep. But for now, we'll have to wonder about that for another day.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you for storytelling with me tonight.
Definitely. I always love a good story. Especially when I get to bring a character back that has been in fruition and building for about the last 4 years. So he shows up here and there in a few different campaigns that I run. So.
Awesome. Okay. Well, are you up for a couple of questions from the lore jar?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll see if I can make this one work because my lore for Faerun can be rusty.
Well, lucky they're mostly lore about your character.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, this one's for you instead of for Zafon. What is your
Okay.
favorite element of tabletop RPGs, either as a player or as a game master?
So I have to pick as a player or a game master or an element within that.
Oh, both, just whenever you're playing.
Okay. Um, I really enjoy as a game master. Backstories is probably my favorite element. Weaving those stories into people's adventures is just the fun to see their eyes light up when they catch those moments that they aren't expecting. Um, as a player, I love finding ways to use very simple items or very simple spells to do incredible things that you shouldn't be able to do. And my game masters hate me for it, but I usually find like ways to solve puzzles with cantrips rather than high level spells.
Mhm.
So
That's fair. It can be a lot of fun to try to puzzle it out that way.
mhm.
Okay. Um, well, I think this one might be kind of obvious to some of us, but aside from being a tiefling, does your character have any unique or distinguishing features?
um, as I said before, he does for somebody at Waterdeep. So it's a metropolis area. Everybody kind of wears very normal clothing, very normal colors. Normally, Zafon will be in the most outlandish colors he can be, giving off a sense of pride and reverence to the fact that he is a profane soul and believes that his place on this earth is to control everything. So
Of
he's
course.
definitely a not a good character, but he's not a bad character either. He's just a character with his own agenda.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Last question.
All right.
Share with us one piece of lore of your choice about your character. It could be background or something they've done in a campaign or something you just think is cool.
So Zafon has never been played really. I mean, he's been an NPC in my games for years. In the first introduction to him, actually one of my favorite players who's been in my games for years too, and is also a player on our show. Um, he would hire the party to do random events, and then instead of letting all of them do the same event, he would place this one person under a charge to get something else done at the same time. Um, and this has gotten that character in many different scenarios of problems, including gathering psychedelic plants, poisons. Um, he captured a an animal for him one time. He befriended a village another time. And then, of course, he had a sending stone that he would then report these back to Zafon. And then Zafon would use that as another way to move his organization around throughout the world that we play in. So, yeah, no, he's just kind of, for anybody who's ever, and I know we've talked about his background before, but for anybody who ever knows, has ever watched Blacklist, his character was designed off of Red Reddington. And his goal was just to be able to manipulate and twist and move and shake things as needed for his own doing, but at the same time, never really doing it not deceitfully, but mischievously to the point where it's going to actually hurt somebody. He'd rather somebody else take care of that. So,
Yes, sometimes it is best to keep your hands clean in certain situations. Awesome.
especially when it's a giant kraken that's trying to kill me, I'm not touching that thing. I saw a giant octopus on the screen. I went, nope, not touching it. We'll figure another way around.
I always try to give an out when I can. But it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's combat ready, but fighting a kraken is just not really in his purview. And if he doesn't have to fight, he won't fight. He has abilities that make him very friendly and charming and taking care of people, and that's what he does. And sometimes it's on their own volition, and sometimes it's on more of his own choice. So he takes care of what he has to.
Yes. Well, it's been awesome to adventure with him and you tonight. So, is there
Thank
anything
you.
else you'd like
Thank
to
you
share?
for having me.
Yeah, of course. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Sure. If you check this out later on and you want to see more of me, I mean, I'm not the best looking person in the world. I would rather, but if you want to hang out with me some on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we tell stories over at the tavern. We're on Tabletop Misfits. We're also getting ready to launch, hopefully, a show or two here in the near future, but there's been some personal things through many of our players and myself that have needed to be taken care of first. So once we get all of life straightened back out, we're going to do that. You can also check us out on Wednesdays or Sundays, depending on what's going on that week. While we're playing Baldur's Gate 3, we're trying to adventure through that. And me and a few friends kind of do that as an off time until we get a new campaign up and running. So come hang out with us.
Awesome. I know I'm definitely excited for whenever the next adventure comes along for the Misfits.
Yep. And there could be there's a talk of the potential for it changing channels for a little bit, so we'll see. But my face will be out there. It's just it might be on a different channel for a little bit. So
Well, wherever we find you, I hope we'll all get to see lots of amazing stories.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for your story, and thank you everyone who's spent their time tonight listening to us tell underwater adventures. Until next time, or maybe even tomorrow over at Misfits, everyone have a lovely weekend.